जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा एवं विश्वास परमहंस परिदक्ष स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस से भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय इस्कॉन संस्थापक शील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिदक्ष स्तोत्र सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विश्वपाद श्री लकुर किशोर दास महाराज की जय जय ओम विश्वपाद वैष्णव साधु श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास नरसिंह गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय नमाचार्य श्री अदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से गौ श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री वेद दादर शिव सादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिगोवर्धन की जय। इसी गौरांग बेंगलोरेश्वर भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा मई की जय। यमुना मई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथा श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुविंद की जय। समावित भक्तविंद की जय। गौरव प्रेमानंद। All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled bodies. All glories to the assembled bodies. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. नष्टप्रायेषु पत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna, welcome to today morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 11, text number 19. Sonantontakkarakalo nadir adikrit avyayah janam janen janayan मारयन् मृत्युनान्तकम् सोऽनन्तोऽन्तःकरकालो नादिरादिकृत् अव्ययः जनं जनेन जनयन् मारयन् मृत्युनान्तकम् सोऽनन्तोऽन्तःकरकालो नादिरादिकृत् अव्ययः जनं जनेन जनयन् मारयन् मृत्युनान्तकम्. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time. He is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything, nor is he ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death, but he is perpetually free of birth and death. The supreme authority and inconceivable power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be minutely studied from this verse. He is always unlimited. That means that he has no creation or end. He is, however, death in the form of time. As described in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am death. I take everything at the end of life. Eternal time is also without beginning, but it is the creator of all creatures. The example is given of touchstone, which creates many valuable stones and jewels, but does not decrease in power. Similarly, creation occurs many times, everything is maintained, and after a time, everything is annihilated. But the original creator, the Supreme Lord, remains untouched and undiminished in power. The secondary creation is made by Brahma, but Brahma is created by the Supreme Godhead. Lord Shiva annihilates the whole creation, but at the end, he is also annihilated by Vishnu. Lord Vishnu remains. In the Vedic hymns, it is stated that in the beginning there is only Vishnu and that he alone remains at the end. An example can help us to understand the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord. In the recent history of warfare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead created a Hitler and therefore that a Napoleon Bonaparte, and they each killed many living entities in war. But in the end, Bonaparte and Hitler were also killed. People are still very much interested in writing and reading books about Hitler and Bonaparte and how they killed so many people in war. Year after year, many books are published for public reading regarding Hitler's killing thousands of Jews in confinement. But no one is researching who killed Hitler and who created such a gigantic killer of human beings. The devotees of the Lord are not much interested in the study of the flickering history of the world. They are interested only in Him, who is the original creator, maintainer, and annihilator. That is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana-Shalakya Chakshur-Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapata Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadautam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मोहम करो दिवाचलम श्री गुरु देवता परमानंद श्री चैतन्य ईश्वर। Hare Krishna. So here in these verses, we see that Swayambhu Manu is advising Dhruva Maharaj, giving so many instructions, and so that Dhruva Maharaj may stop fighting the battle with the Yakshas. Actually, it was one Yaksha who killed the stepbrother of Dhruva Maharaj, but Dhruva Maharaj in retaliation started not only killed that particular Yaksha who killed his stepbrother, but then he continued to fight and killing many Yakshas, which was against the principles of Dharma. So Swayambhu Manu appeared on the scene and he gave him a lot of references. And in this particular sloka, he's advising Dhruva Maharaj that the Lord is existing forever and in the form of time. And the Lord is the killer of everything. Actually, he's trying to explain to Dhruva Maharaj that though Dhruva Maharaj may be killing, but ultimately it is the Lord, Supreme Lord in the form of time, who kills everyone and everything. Then he mentions that the Lord has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything, and he is also uh, not exhaustible, whereas everything else gets exhausted in due course of time. So the Lord creates through the agency of the Father and later kills through the agency of death, but he is perpetually free from birth and death. We'll go through some of the important points here. One is that the first point is that the Lord is ever existing. The Lord does not have a material body like us. He has a spiritual body consisting of Satchitananda Vigraha and eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So he has no birth and he has no death, and he cannot be killed also. Just like our soul cannot be killed, cannot be mutilated. We have a material body that covers the soul, but the Lord has got a spiritual body. But then the Lord creates everything, manifests all the entire material creation, and then all of these, the entire creation, including all the living entities, of course, the soul is not killed, but the entire material manifestation is annihilated over a period of time. Of course, there are different annihilation cycles. So the Lord as Father, he creates, and at the end, as time, he annihilates. He does not involve himself uh, in all these activities directly. He creates through Lord Brahma. He maintains the universe and everyone through as Lord Vishnu, and annihilation takes place through Lord Shiva. But they are also the Gunavataras. But it is said in the Shastras that the most important and the most difficult aspect of everything is maintenance. So the Lord takes care of it himself in the form of Lord Vishnu. So the Lord does not have birth. He also does not have death also. Now, the Lord also, here is also mentioned, the Lord creates through the agency of the Father. He is the Father and the material nature is the mother. And then finally, the killing takes place through the agency of time, which comes as death. So the Lord declares in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna in 14.4, says that Sarvayonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavanti Aha Asam Brahma Mahat Yonir Aham Bija Pradapita. The translation says that it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. So from this verse in Bhagavad Gita also, it is clear that the Lord states that there are 84 lakh species of life. All the species of life are given birth in this material nature, and the Lord is the Krishna is the seed giving father. Material nature is the mother. So then the Lord is always unlimited. We are all limited in time, space, and situations, and every respect we are limited. But the Lord is unlimited, and so he has no creation and he has no end also. Like I mentioned, he has no birth, he has no death. But uh, he comes in the form of time or death in this material world. And he says in Bhagavad Gita also, I am death. I take away everything at the end of life. So the Lord takes, annihilates to the form of time. Now, everyone is afraid of death, and it is inevitable. Nobody can avoid death. So Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu sarvasya sarva harasyaham. That means he says that I come as death and plunder everything. So when the Lord comes and takes it, people plan so many things uh, in terms of accumulation of wealth, properties, etc. But none of them come in handy to a person who is about to die or who is dead. We all come empty-handed in this world. And when we leave this material world, we have to leave everything as it is. We can't take anything to wherever we go. We may be going to some other heavenly planet, or we may come back to this earthly planet also. But whatever we have struggled very hard to earn throughout the life through fair means or unfair means, they all are left behind when we leave our body. To the extent that even our relatives or close kith and kin, they cannot do anything after we leave our body. That is the true reality which we must understand. So here the Lord says that uh, he himself comes as death and plunder everything. That means it might go to our family or after we leave the body, but ultimately the Lord has taken away everything from us. So people wonder how he will die, when he will die, etc., and what will happen after I leave, and who will take care of my business, my family life, etc. Ultimately, we are not the doers. It's the Lord who does everything. And if we have been able to perform some activity in the material world during the short span of time, which also is getting gradually reduced day by day anyway. Human form of life is now today anywhere from 20 years to say 70 or 80 years, even 100 years does not come, very rarely it is. So there is always we do a lot of planning, and it is said that man proposes, God disposes. Whatever the Lord does, plans, that is what happens. So in Bhagavad Gita 11, chapter 32, sloka also, there's an explanation given about the kala or the time, where the Lord says, time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come to destroy all the people. So that means whatever destruction takes place in the world and the killing takes place, it all happens in the form of time. So it is time that kills everyone and every. If you see, time keeps ticking every moment, every second, and that second doesn't come back again. And if you see our own body, every moment the body keeps on deteriorating. So that it is the time that takes away everything in this material world, animate or inanimate, and kills everything. So Srila Prabhupada mentions as to how the Lord as Kala, time, glances in the spiritual sky and picks up jivas who want to be separate from him. I mean, those who have a separate, independent tendency to enjoy. So it's the time that Lord as time glances in the spiritual sky and picks up the living entities. Then time also impregnates material nature with living entities, and we get the gross and subtle bodies according to our desire. Then how what we deserve, we may have a desire, but we may not deserve it. So based on our karma, Brahma arranges. Lord does not create directly, but the creation also, Lord does the primary creation, but the secondary creation is done by Brahma. So this is how the jivas travel in this material world from one body to another, and in a very pitiable situation. This happens with every creation and annihilation till the jivas go back to Godhead. So when one knows that this is what is the truth in life, then how powerful it is, then one should try and correct the situation. It is said that once Yudhishthira Maharaj was lying down on a mat, he was hearing the chirping of the birds, and he was cool and calm. And the Brahmanas who were chanting the mantras. When Draupadi came and told him that you are lying down on a mat while you are sitting, while you should be sitting on the throne. This happened when they were sent to the forest, being the king of the whole world. And actually, Yudhishthira Maharaj was actually enjoying the flowing of the water. Sometimes when you go by the side of a river or a river bank, water bank, you'll find the water flowing and then beautiful sounds come. So Draupadi said, I am fed up seeing you in this condition. Yudhishthira Maharaj smiled. Then she went to Bhima and said the same thing to Bhima, uh, thinking that Bhima would get agitated. Bhima said, it is because of Yudhishthira I'm keeping quiet. And if he says yes, I'll finish them now only. So Maharaj Yudhishthira, then Maharaj Yudhishthira actually responded saying that one should never become a victim of anger because anger begins with passion and ends with destruction. So we should follow the path of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he said that right now, our dharma is to spend the time in the jungle. We are committed to live here, and how to utilize this moment for spiritual progress is what we should think. Similarly, we might go through many calamities in our life, material, spiritual, etc. So one should take all these in the right spirit and try to see how can make spiritual progress in these situations. Then he said, if the Lord puts us in the jungle or throne, and whatever he wishes, it is the time, and we have to align ourselves with that kala. That means he tries to say that Lord has got a particular plan, and it is better that we align with that particular plan instead of trying to go out of deviate, trying to uh, deviate and go against the plan. So even when Bhishma Deva was lying down on the bed of arrows, he also mentioned that it is better to align ourselves with the Lord's plan. So sometimes we might see that death also comes very cruelly. Many times people die due to accidents, severe diseases, and so forth. So that is what time is. It appears very cruel for non-devotees, but for a devotee, he is not afraid of death because he thinks that it is the will of Krishna. In fact, Srila Prabhupada gives a very common example that for a non-devotee, death is like a rat in the mouth of a cat. When the cat holds the rat is literally struggling and he feels a lot of pain. But the same thing for a devotee, death is like a kitten in the mouth of a cat. The same cat has got its kitten, but the kitten feels very soft and cared for by being in the mouth of the cat. So this is how a devotee looks at death in a positive way, but as a non-devotee, for him it is time comes in the cruel form. So it is said that Kala brings both the good times and the bad times to everybody, and devotees carry karma in the form of time. So time also converts beautiful faces into wrinkled faces. We all might be born very beautiful at a very young age, but as we grow old, we lose all the beauty that we have, and wrinkles come over our face, which cannot be prevented. Many people go for so many therapies, but then one cannot stop death at any point of time. And then, of course, many things happen like black hair becomes white and so forth. People try to change with or coloring and so forth. But nothing is eternal. Srila Prabhupada also quite often gives an example of how so many civilizations have come up and they have come down. For example, Roman civilization was known very well once upon a time, but today they are not. Similarly, the British used to call themselves Great Britain, but then um, they are not known as great as where they were once upon a time. So this is a nature's law where whatever goes up comes down at some point or other. So when Srila Prabhupada was in London, he said that London is like hell. When he was walking through his, because these are places where sun never rises also. So sun is necessary for everyone to sustain a healthy living. So he said London is like hell. Then when he was walking through the streets of France, he saw many statues of Napoleon. And we see in this puppet also, Srila Prabhupada mentions about how Napoleon and Hitler, they killed so many people, innocent living entities. But then he said, when Srila Prabhupada saw, he said, today France is existing, but Napoleon is a history, or Hitler is a history. So this is how Kala is very, very subtle. It is very powerful, and everything appears in the form of time. And this time is nothing but an expansion of the Lord. It's an impersonal form of the Lord. Time doesn't have a form like the Lord has got. So time can also be described as past, present, and future. Because from present comes past. That means past, whatever is past, in a moment, it becomes a past. And so it's the same case with future also. Future can become present, and invariably that also becomes past. Time is also a reminder for everyone that time is passing. So spiritually, it's a warning that every sleeping soul should wake up. If not for time, we would not have woken up. We would like to sleep for 10 hours and 12 hours a day. But time does not affect a devotee because his body is spiritually conscious, is not bodily conscious. For example, Srila Prabhupada traveled at very old age because he was spiritually surcharged. So as long as one is spiritually surcharged, one transcends the material uh, body. There's a quote from Chanakya Pandita which says, even one moment of life spent cannot be regained for millions of gold coins. Therefore, what greater loss is there than the time spent uselessly? I mean, whatever money you spend, you can't bring back the time. So what is the point of wasting time unnecessarily? In fact, rather, instead, any moment of time utilized in the service of Krishna is useful for a particular living being. Just like the Lord is eternal, time is also said to be eternal because time doesn't have a beginning and time doesn't have an end. We might see our watch, the time is past, but what time is here, it may be somewhere else a different time. So time also, it is said, does not have a beginning. And it is a creator of all the living creatures also. And Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a touchstone, how a touchstone creates many valuable stones and jewels, but does not, each one has its own power of illumination. But the power does not decrease by fraction of stones, break of stones. Similarly, creation occurs many times and everything is maintained for some time, and after a time they are all annihilated. But the original creator, Supreme Lord Himself, remains untouched and undiminished in power. And Lord Brahma makes the secondary creation. So the Lord makes the primary creation, and then Lord Brahma does the secondary creation based on desire and deserve. And finally, it is Lord Shiva who annihilates the whole creation, but at the end also, even Lord Shiva is annihilated by Vishnu. It's an example Srila Prabhupada quotes in this purport itself, how about the inconceivable potency of the Lord. See, he mentions about Hitler and Napoleon Bonaparte. They killed many, many, many living entities, but ultimately they were also killed. They could not prevent their death. So, but people are very much interested in seeing the articles of Napoleon or Hitler and so forth. So many books have been published, but then Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that where is Hitler today? Where is Napoleon? So it is a history. It has become a past. And okay, a time may come today when, like for example, when Srila Prabhupada, when he saw a lot of statues of Hitler, like that we might also see statues in India of many presidents or prime ministers. Over a period of time, the time is so powerful that people might lose track of even these great personalities who have struggled to make the country independent. So the point is that this is what is the material world. Many books might be available for reading and all these things, but ultimately it is of no use. One should try to uh, understand who is the who has killed all these living beings. So ultimately, it is a Lord as time who has killed all these living beings. Also in Bhagavad Gita 11:32, the Lord says, "Time I am the great destroyer uh, of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all the people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." So this sloka also confirms where the Lord says that I am the destroyer of the whole, all the three worlds, and I have come to destroy all the people also. And with the exception of the Pandavas, all the soldiers will be killed. The point here is that everyone has to die at some point or the other. But when Krishna gives an exception to the Pandavas, because Pandavas were great devotees of the Lord, so when they devotees of the Lord don't come back to this material world to take birth. So that's why I mentioned in the beginning of the class also, time does not affect a devotee, time affects a non-devotee. And this time is a creative principle. And as this time agitates the three modes of material nature and the creation takes place. And or to talk about the earthly planet, even the topmost planet like Brahmaloka also gets finished at the time of annihilation in no time. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that, yes, even the Lord of Death, Yamaraj, he also can't escape death. That means everyone in this, the entire creation in this material world, including Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they all have to face this death and nobody can escape death. Time also controls everything in this material world, and it starts from the time of Lord Mahavishnu's glance, which is itself time, and therefore it is calculated from creation to alienation. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam explains in detail as to how time is calculated. I'm not going to the details of that. And it is this time that takes us from past to the present and present to the future. It is said that Lord Shiva is called because he's a representation of time and time gives forms also. The karma or the activities are also performed by the living entities within a span of time under the three modes of material nature. So time is a very invaluable part of our life and everything happens on time. Like children have to go to school on time. The parents have to go to the offices or businesses on time. Everything happens by time. And so also devotional service, when devotees perform devotional service, these services are also performed on time. And the Lord becomes pleased when devotees perform this devotional service on time. In fact, this is one of the important aspects of devotional service, that the service rendered by the devotee is done on time. We expect everything on time. So similarly, the Lord has expectations that the devotional service rendered is done on time. Srila Prabhupada also quotes that if we don't chant our rounds in the morning, then it is said that Krishna as time keeps haunting us. So if we generally we see that if we chant our rounds in the morning, we become happy. But then if we don't do it, then it gets dragged around until the evening, day, and the next day, and so forth. Uh, of course, in the spiritual world, also there is time, but time does not affect the living beings like it affects the living entities in the material world. Another example that is given is in the Mahabharata. After the war, when the war was over and Bhishma Deva was lying in a bed of arrows, the Lord advised Yudhishthira and all his brothers to go to Bhishma Deva and take advices from him, because Bhishma Deva was a great statesman, great warrior, great administrator, etc. And Bhishma Deva himself wanted to see Krishna. So Krishna appeared in front of Bhishma Deva, and the Lord utilized Bhishma Deva's presence to give his advice, being a very great experienced personality, to Maharaja Yudhishthira as to how to rule the kingdom. So there are so many valuable instructions that are given by Bhishma Deva. At that time, Bhishma Deva was feeling very, very sorry for the Pandavas, because he mentioned that at a very early age their father Pandu died, and thereafter the Pandavas suffered at every moment. The Kauravas did their level best to kill them, and they were also sent to exile. And Abhimanyu was mercilessly killed, and also the 5 children of the Pandavas were killed by Ashwadama when they were asleep. So Bhishma Deva knew that the Pandavas were very, very virtuous, and he could not stop them because of his vows that he had taken. And finally, he had a desire that it should be the Pandavas who were by the side of Dharma to rule the kingdom one day. And when he saw that after the winning the war, he felt very, very compassionate on all of them. And finally, he told Yudhishthira, and which is mentioned in 19 Srimad Bhagavatam 1914. He says, in my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time. That means the Pandavas had suffered a lot. But he said this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. So we see when the cloud keeps on moving, the wind carries the cloud. Similarly, all the living entities are carried by this inevitable time. And further he says, in spite of following Dharma, you suffered but still did not deviate from Dharma. That means the Pandavas were the followers of Dharma, but in spite of all the sufferings, they did not deviate from Dharma. That is a sign of a true devotee. He said, you took shelter of the Brahmanas, that is the Vaishnavas, Dharma, and Krishna. That is why they became victorious. So one who takes shelter of the Brahmanas, the devotees of the Lord, Dharma, and also Krishna, they are always victorious in life. But those who don't surrender to Krishna have to surrender to the other form of Krishna, which that is time, in the form of death, which carries everything and everyone with it. Everyone is under the control of time. We see the calendar takes place from January to December. Of course, Vaishnavas have a different calendar. Different communities have different forms of calendar, but all these things are based on in the form of time only. We see that even we have the Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha, Samvatsaras, and Amavasya. All these are based purely on time calculation, and all these details are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. As also mentioned, that being afraid of Lord Vishnu's chakra, Rahu cannot stay in front of the sun or moon for more than a muhurta, which is 48 minutes. So the uh, Rahu planet also cannot show his power during these 48 minutes. And this, when it occurs, when Rahu blocks the light of the sun or moon, that is what is called, we call it as eclipse or grahan. There's a quote in third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam which says that just as there are pious entities, pious trees, and there are also pious planets, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus are supposed to be pious planets, and Saturn, Mars are impious planets. So when the pious planets shine, there is an auspicious sign, and when the impious planets shine, there is an inauspicious sign. Lord Kapila also explains to Mother Devahuti in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says, out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the wind blows. And out of fear for him, the sun shines. So wind blows out of fear of Krishna, and the sun also shines out of fear of Krishna. Then he says, out of fear of him, the rain pours forth showers, and out of fear of him, the host of heavenly planets shed their luster. So the point is that every activity that takes place in the material world, whether it is a sunshine or the moonshine or it is a rain, all these take place by the Lord's energy, which is time. There's a nice sloka in Brahma Samhita also, where it says, Yachakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha Yasyajnaya Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The translation is, I worship Govinda, the benevolent Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within a fixed orbit of eternal time. So here Brahma prays to the Lord that he is worshipping Govinda, or Govinda, under whose control even the sun rotates over a fixed period of time. So the sun also doesn't is not independent on its own. The sun also moves according to the time factor, and the time is none other than Krishna himself. And further, it is mentioned that the sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. So, the sun, which is the ruling planet, which is the king of all planets, itself rotates on the basis of time. And there are places where the sun never rises at all. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that in London, in UK, there are many places where the sun doesn't rise at all. Another example is that in a place called Poland, it is says in winter the sun sets at 2 or 3 p.m. We might see a sunset here at 7 p.m. or even 6:30, but in a place like Poland, sun sets at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the next day, the sun rises at 7, even at 9 a.m. That means the duration of the day in those places is from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's all, or maybe even less, plus minus few hours. So this is how time affects places also. When there is no sun, then there's always darkness. And so all the impure activities, impurities in mind, criminal activities, they all happen at the night time during the dark. And it is said that the most crime happen in Amavasya, which is when it is totally dark. And the first rays of the sunshine in the morning is supposed to be very, very good for the eyes when it is seen for a few minutes. But for devotees, Guru and Shastras are the two eyes of the devotees. And when they see it through the Guru and Shastras, they can have the Lord's vision. It's also mentioned that in Treta Yuga, Hanuman swallowed the sun planet, thinking that it to be a ripe mango, and the sun was crying inside his belly. This is one quote that even sun is also not controlled, is not a controller, but is being controlled by the Lord. And in the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a quote that the personal weapon used by Lord Krishna, that disc, is called Hari Chakra or the disc of Hari. This chakra is a wheel of time. So many times we may have heard about the Sudarshan Chakra, which is the wheel of time. It says that it expands from the beginning of the atoms up to the time of Brahma's death, and it controls all the activities. It is always revolving and spending the lives of the living entities from Brahma down to an insignificant blade of grass. That's how time changes one from infancy to childhood to youth and maturity. And thus, at the end, it is death. And it is impossible to check this wheel of time. And still, in spite of knowing all these things, living beings do not care for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada also mentions that we as living entities have forgotten our position since time immemorial. So times immemorial means it is, we don't know when we have forgotten the Lord. And that's how the time has passed by so fast, very fast way. And we are not worried about the time also when we should quit this place. This is the most pathetic situation. And the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a mention that everything happens within time, which consists of past, present, and future. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is a very nice quote on time. It says, time, karma, and guna separates people. We must understand from this. Actually, many times let me read this completely. It says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yudhishthira Maharaj was lamenting when Dhritarashtra left. So Vidura was actually preaching very strongly to Dhritarashtra, and that you're wasting your life, instead go to the forest. So finally, Dhritarashtra also realized that he is left behind with Gandhari, and he realized that the dangers of life, and he realized that he made very big mistakes handling the Pandavas, and that he was now left alone. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj comes, he asks Sanjaya, where is my uncle, well-wisher, uncle Vidura and mother Gandhari, who are very much afflicted due to all their son's demise? Then he says, my uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offenses very seriously and along with his wife drown himself and so forth? Then he says, this is the time Narada Muni, this is the time when Narada Muni came to the scene, and Yudhishthira Maharaj told Narada Muni, oh godly personality, I don't know where my two uncles have gone, nor can I find my ascetic aunt who is grief-stricken by the loss of her sons. And Narada Muni replied, O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is He only who brings them together and disperses them. So the point is, time brings all the living beings together. So far, we might say, my relatives, my friends, and so forth. All of these things last for a very short moment of time, from birth to death. And thereafter, again, they all disperse and then continue the cycle in the next birth in the form of somebody else relative, somebody else friend. This is how time affects. And then Yudhishthira Narada Muni said, you are now thinking of how they who are helpless, poor creatures will exist without you. And he tries to console them, saying that it is under the control of eternal time, Kala, action, and the modes of nature that everything happens in this material world. How then can it be, being already in the jaws of serpent, protect others? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, in any case, cannot protect the Dhritarashtra or whoever it is. Then he says that you should conclude saying that you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second, and who manifests himself in the form of various energies. So he meant to Yudhishthira that Yudhishthira cannot protect the Dhritarashtra or Gandhari. And the entire lifespan of 80 to 100 years of life is just like a flashlight in front of the eternity. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. And if anybody has got any questions on or comments on time or death, they can ask me. So if there are no questions or comments, I'm taking the class as closed. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki